Hello, this is the Stories Beside channel. I release videos every day for you. Subscribe and click the bell.
Barbara. Clara's secretary looked at the woman sympathetically. You'll be in a coffin soon. When was the last time you were on vacation? Clara, don't pour salt on my wound. Barbara sighed. About 5 years ago, I'd forgotten what it was like to go on vacation. You absolutely need a vacation. I don't want you to faint from fatigue at some point. Do I look that bad? Concerned, the woman looked in the mirror on her desk. Do I look okay? Normal? It's when the head of a big, successful construction firm has a blush on her cheeks and a sparkle in her eyes. You look more like a hunted horse. I bet you don't even have time to go out to a restaurant or a movie with your husband, do you? Clara, to my shame, I can't remember the last time I did that. I mean, my husband and I have a good relationship, but do you give your all to your work? The girl finished the sentence Barbara had started. Alas, yes. He's my deputy. He knows everything we do. I trust him. Now go, I need to be alone. Barbara, you'll feel better if you cry. I won't feel better. The woman replied tiredly. She was silent, staring at one point. Clara stood for a moment and then quietly left the office. Barbara closed her eyes and thought, I should probably call someone, inform someone, warn someone, what they usually do in such cases. I don't know, I'll have to ask. She got up heavily, cleaned up her desk, turned off her computer, walked out of the office on woozy legs, got into her car, and forced herself to concentrate. 40 minutes later, the woman was already standing in a spacious, cold room. I understand it's hard for you right now. The investigator spoke gently, but this is standard procedure. It is necessary for you to confirm the identity of the deceased. I understand. Reluctantly, Barbara replied, I'm ready. The investigator nodded. The pathologist pulled back the sheet. The woman went pale, clutched at the strap of her bag. That's him. With unresisting lips, she whispered, It's my husband, Thomas. Barbara struggled to realize that the irreparable has happened. This is not happening to me, she thought. Looking at her husband's breathless body was excruciatingly painful. It's a dream. It can't be true. Woman, through the noise in her ears, she heard, Are you all right? Yes. Barbara's legs gave out and the investigator took her under his arm. Can I go now? Is there anything else you need me to do? I have one more question. The man furrowed his brow. There was a girl in the car with your husband. We didn't find any documents on her. See if she looks familiar to you. Only now Barbara noticed another table where a body lay under a white sheet. What girl? The woman stared at him uncomprehendingly. Wasn't Thomas driving alone? Where did she come from in her husband's car? That's what we'd like to find out from you. See if you've ever met her. The coroner nodded again to the doctor, who pulled back the sheet. She's very young. Barbara spontaneously burst out. Do you know her? Have you ever met her? No, I have no idea who she is. The woman looked away from the pretty face that death had already imprinted on her. Can I go now? She was shivering, the odor in the room making her sick. Barbara couldn't wait to get some air. Yes. The investigator took her elbow gently. I'll walk you out. Barbara, I have a few more questions for you. We just need to identify the girl, so help us. Where did your husband work? Could the stranger have been a coworker? How could she be in his car? I don't know. I think you'd better ask the office. Here's the address of the firm where Thomas worked. She took a notebook out of her purse, a pen, wrote the address, the phone number with a trembling hand. I think she tore the written sheet out of the notebook and handed it to the investigator. You'll find out for yourself. I have a funeral to attend to. Ah, excuse me. She couldn't wait to get rid of the investigator and be alone. Yes, yes, the man said thoughtfully, studying the record. I understand. The accident happened downtown. What was Thomas doing there in the middle of the day? Is that far enough away from his office? I don't know. Barbara waved her hands. We don't have any family or friends living that way. Could he be there for work? No, his job doesn't involve traveling. He's supposed to be in the office at this time. Frankly, your questions are baffling me. I'm at a loss to guess what he might be doing there. She paused for a moment, thinking about something. If you have no more questions for me, can I mind my own business? I'm tired. Yes, yes, said the investigator again thoughtfully. But I'll have to bother you again if there are new circumstances in the case of your husband's death. All right, but I can hardly do anything else to help you. She stood for a moment, then got into her car and drove home. Barbara didn't know what to do with herself. She walked aimlessly around the apartment, rearranging the figurines on the shelves, going through the papers she had left on the desk in Thomas's office. Her husband's jacket was carelessly thrown on the back of a chair. She took it, sat down in the chair, pressed it against her, and stood still. She was brought out of her reverie by the telephone ringing. Barbara? She heard the investigator's voice. We've learned something. Turns out your husband took a week's vacation from work. Yeah. And that girl in the car with him, she's not a coworker. She's not? Barbara was stunned by the news. A vacation? She thought, why would Thomas take a vacation? Where was he going to go? Alone without me. Very strange, not even consulted. Well, we don't know yet. Please, if you think of anything, call my number, please. I realize you are at a loss right now. It's hard for you. But later, when you come to your senses and remember something, call me. Did your husband mention somewhere in the conversation that he was going on a vacation? No, he wasn't planning a vacation right now. We wanted a vacation. Yes, I even found a vacation spot, but we didn't have time to discuss it with him. I'm sorry, it's hard for me to talk. I understand. The investigator's in a hurry. If I have any news about the girl, I'll let you know. Barbara put the phone aside. The silence in the house had become unbearable. She stood up, headed for the kitchen. The phone rang again. Barbara. It was the excited voice of her friend Margaret. I called as soon as I heard. How are you holding up? I'm hanging in there. What else can I do? Do you want me to come over now? You shouldn't be alone. Come over. Without much enthusiasm, the woman replied. An hour later, Margaret and Barbara were sitting at the table in the kitchen, drinking cognac and talking. Too bad Thomas. She took a sip of her glass and said to the guest, He was a good man, he loved you. I thought so too. Barbara remarked, staring intently at the contents of the glass. What do you mean? Her friend stared at her in surprise. I've always envied you. Such a good family, a golden husband, he did everything for you. I don't even remember whether you and he ever quarreled or not. The only thing you lacked was children. Yes, Thomas wanted a child, but we never had one. You're right. We had an even relationship, and over time the passion faded, but there was still respect and understanding. That's worth a lot. We could sit and talk for hours. We loved being alone together, and we were never bored. A perfect family. Margaret smiled sadly. As it turned out, far from perfect. What's this about now? I never kept secrets from my husband. I thought he was always honest with me, and today I found out that he took a week's vacation. Do you understand? She looked at her friend in despair. Behind my back, this never happened. We never hid anything from each other. And here, and the worst part was that every morning he said he was going to work. Wow, Margaret gasped. Where was he? I don't know. The coroner's looking into it. There's this strange girl in the car that's been bugging me. A girl? My friend was surprised. What girl? I don't know. Wait, Margaret looked at her carefully. You don't think Thomas was with his mistress, do you? What am I supposed to think? It turns out I didn't know him at all. Tell me, where did he spend his time? Was he with her? How long did their affair last? No, you're not serious right now. I can see you don't believe what you're saying. Yes, yes. Barbara clutched the glass of cognac tightly in her hands. I don't believe, of course, that Thomas could have cheated on me. I must find out why he needed a vacation and who the girl was. I don't want to stain my husband's memory by disbelief. He's the closest thing I have to a husband. On the other hand, if he was in the car with his mistress. Listen. Margaret took Barbara's hand and squeezed her fingers. Don't get yourself worked up. Wait for the results of the investigation. I'm sure everything will be clear soon. What you need to think about now is how to organize the funeral. Have you called everyone you need to? No. Reluctantly, the woman replied. At work they already know. The investigator was there, making inquiries about the girl. You're right, we need to tell everyone what happened. But I don't know what to do next. I'll help you. Margaret assured me. We'll get through this together. Just don't let bad thoughts go to your head. Remember, you and Thomas live together. Now you rest a little and then take a notebook and call all your friends, and I'll take care of the funeral services, order a cafe, and tomorrow you and I will go and make a menu for the wake. Hang in there, my friend. Now you have no one to rely on but me. Thank you. Barbara, hugging her, tears sprang to her eyes. Save your tears. Margaret took a napkin and handed it to her friend. You'll need them. I'm off. I'll call you tomorrow. Barbara was alone again. She called Thomas's friends, listened to the condolences, did everything automatically, without thinking. The woman went back into the study, pulled a photo album out of the closet, and climbed with her feet up on the leather couch. She looked at the photos and smiled. How well we lived? Barbara thought. How young. There seemed to be plenty of time ahead. How fleeting is life. She took another photo. And this is our first photo together. She ran her fingers over the surface of the photo, caressing the image of her husband. How long ago was that? And I remember every minute of our first meeting. Thomas and his friends had noticed two pretty girls a long time ago. They were on the train to the volunteer forum. The girls, judging by their uniforms, were headed there as well. Shall we get acquainted? The young man winked. It's more fun to go together. I don't mind. Ethan perked up. The redhead over there is mine. I like the dark-haired one with green eyes. Look, Thomas. The buddies laughed. She'll marry you off before the end of the forum. Such green eyes are usually recognized with unclean powers. Nonsense, Thomas waved away. Look how serious her face is. You can't approach her from the first time. Well, try your luck. Don't laugh. I think I've met my soulmate. Oh, Ethan laughed. Hold me 7. Our modest man has fallen in love. Envy me silently. Thomas snapped good-naturedly. Come on, brother. Never mind. No one's going to take her away from you. Besides, she doesn't even know you've got your eye on her yet. Laughing good-naturedly at each other, they decided to talk to the girls who had already realized that their friends were up to something. Girls? Ethan was the first to address them. He was the most adventurous of the group. Why don't we ride together? We're going together anyway, Margaret answered. Barbara laughed too. Are you going to the forum? Yes. Word by word, the conversation started. Thomas did not participate. He kept his eyes on Barbara and did not know how to talk to her. He did not want to be alone with her, even for a short time, and then he could tell her a lot of things. While the young man was thinking about how to approach the beauty, the train slowed down, standing 40 minutes. Jacob announced cheerfully, "Let's go outside, shall we? I'm looking forward to some fresh air." "Barbara, are you coming?" asked Margaret, lifting from the seat as the train pulled up. "No, I'd rather sit here." Thomas was jubilant in his heart. He hoped the girl had stayed on purpose because she sensed his desire to be alone with her. The company left and Thomas could not take his eyes off Barbara. "Barbara, what department do you study in?" To start the conversation, Thomas asked. "Construction." "Wow." The young man marveled. "I've never seen a girl who wanted to be a builder. I always thought it was a man's job. I'm not going to carry bricks. If that's how you imagine the work of a builder, I dream of opening my own construction company. But it's very complicated. You'll probably have only men on your staff, won't you? You're so fragile. I can't imagine you as a manager. Why only men?" Barbara shrugged. "And women too." "What are you two talking about?" Margaret asked, returning to the carriage with her new acquaintances. "I'm wondering," Thomas said, embarrassed. "How did your fragile friend manage to study construction?" "Not only that," Margaret said cheerfully, sitting down next to Barbara. "She's already leading a construction crew. We work on construction sites in the summer, and Barbara is in charge of us. Don't look at her as quiet and modest. She's actually a flint. We wonder where she gets it from. She's not tall enough, but when she looks at you, it's better not to argue with her. Why do you scare people?" The girl was embarrassed. "Guys will still think that I'm some kind of monster in a skirt. You do not listen to her. She has a tongue without bones. And about the brigades, is it true?" Thomas asked. "It's true. We like to work in the summer and practice and earn money. When we get our diploma," Margaret bragged, "we'll go to Barbara's firm and get a job. That's how she is. Not every man can stand her character, and even if he does, he can't find a better wife." "Enough already, Margaret." Barbara was embarrassed by the excessive attention to herself. "What a chatterbox," she scolded her friend. "She'll make a deal that I'll never see Thomas. She'll get scared." Thomas was not afraid. They had fun with the whole company, spent time at the forum, and returning to the city, the young people continued to meet. The day of graduation approached. The girls had been in a cheerful mood since morning. There was only an hour left before the ceremony, so they were in a hurry to finish the preparations for the holiday. Suddenly, in the courtyard of the house in which the girls rented an apartment, there was a noise. What happened there? Margaret looked out of the window and shrieked in surprise. "What's the matter?" "Barbara, it's for you." "Who?" the girl answered. She had just finished arranging her unruly dark hair and looked out the window. "Oh, Mommy!" Barbara covered her mouth with her hands. A powerful car elevator was slowly moving a construction cradle to their 5th floor, where Thomas stood with a huge bouquet of roses. Barbara ran out onto the balcony, followed by Margaret. What a show he put on! The girl clucked her tongue in admiration. "I think I know what's going to happen." "Barbara, marry me," the excited young man said, and held out a bouquet to his beloved. In the center of the bouquet was an open velvet box, and in it glimmered a gold ring. "Why are you silent?" Barbara, frozen from surprise, was pushed by her friend. "Agree? How romantic!" She fluttered her arms. Thomas waited tensely. "I agree." The girl replied softly and accepted the flowers. Thomas moved from the cradle to the balcony, put his arms around his bride, and kissed her firmly. Barbara jerked sharply and realized that she had dozed off. She shook her head to chase the dream away and looked at the photo again. "How did we dream with you?" She turned to the silence of the house. "We even went to the Wailing Wall to have a baby. It was our last hope." Barbara smiled sadly, looking through the pictures. As if in reality, she heard her husband's voice. "Darling?" From the doorway, Thomas announced, "Returning home tonight. We're going to Jerusalem." Barbara, tucked into her pillow, lay on the bed. "Why?" "I don't want to go. Life is over for me. No one can help me become a mother. It's over." "Stop it." Thomas forced her to turn toward him. "To cry. We haven't seized another opportunity. We just have to believe." "Believe?" The woman sobbed. "Only a miracle can help me now, and there are no miracles. We'd have to go." Looking at her earnestly, Thomas said firmly, "If we don't go there, I'll spend the rest of my life reproaching you and myself for this. What if a miracle happens? Let us go, my love. If after that God doesn't give us a child, then I'll never ask you another question about it, I promise. What about me? How can I live knowing I'll never be a mother? I'm incomplete. Leave me. Leave me, please. I'm a waste. Remember that." Shaking her, the man spoke. "I will never leave you. After all, we can take the baby from the orphanage, but we'll go to the Wailing Wall first. Don't mind, I've already bought the tickets." The little trip distracted Barbara from her sad thoughts for a while. She waited with excitement that after a while the two stripes would tell her that she was pregnant, but days passed, months passed, and no miracle happened. "We were so happy together." Swallowing tears, whispered Barbara, stirring her soul with memories. "We understood each other at a glance, even thought alike. Do you remember, Thomas?" She put the photo album aside and gently ran her palm over her husband's jacket. "How you and I, on our wedding anniversary, gave each other t-shirts with our wedding picture on them? We chose the same photo to print, each wanting to surprise the other." Barbara abruptly dropped the photo album and jacket on the floor. "You surprised me," she exclaimed and sobbed. "How could you leave me alone? And what should I think of your vacation? Who is the unfortunate one who died with you? Why? Why are you silent?" She screamed at the top of her voice and sobbed until there were no tears left. Gradually the sobs subsided. "You see me, Thomas. Help me. Give me some sign that my suspicions of your treason are groundless. You couldn't do this to me, I know it. Who is this girl to you?" Exhausted, she fell into a troubled sleep. She dreamed of Thomas that very last morning. "Darling?" A man came into the kitchen. "I've gone out. Don't miss me, I'll see you tonight. You're not going to have breakfast?" Barbara was surprised. "I'm in a hurry." "I'm sorry, darling. There's so much to do today, I'm afraid I'll have to stay late. Tell your boss I resent the way he's taking advantage of you. You've been working like a horse all week, staying late at the office every day. When my patience runs out, I'll come to your office with a complaint, and then he'll have to answer why he exploits you so mercilessly. He probably forgot that serfdom was abolished in the 19th century. You can't even think about work at home. Look what you look like. Slimmed down, even thinner. You don't have to go anywhere." Thomas hugged and kissed his wife. "It'll all be over soon, and I won't stay any longer. Just be patient. Love you, see you tonight." Thomas stopped the car in the driveway, took a beautiful paper bag from the back seat, and got out of the car, smiling at his thoughts, went up the stairs and stopped at the right apartment. No sooner had he touched the bell than the door opened, and a young, beautiful, blue-eyed blonde appeared on the doorstep. "Hello!" The girl threw herself around his neck. "It's so good that you finally came. I've missed you already." "Hi, honey, I saw you yesterday." The man gently pressed her against him. "You know I can't be with you all the time. So what?" Tossing back her luxurious hair, the girl spoke. "Aren't you happy to see me?" "I am, Melissa." "Very glad." Pulling away from her, Thomas replied, "Are you going to keep me in the doorway? What will the neighbors say?" The man followed Melissa into the living room. "You have no idea how happy I am to have you. My life has a lot of meaning now. I even took a vacation from work to spend more time with you. And we can see each other every day. Of course, we've been seeing you for almost a week now, just a little more, and we won't have to hide anymore." "That's great." The girl clapped her hands. "Have you decided to tell your wife?" Thomas hesitated. "You see, I don't want to take it out on her right away. I'm not going to keep you from her indefinitely, but now is not the time to tell her. We have to wait. Just be patient." "Wait for what?" Melissa looked at him angrily. "Until she herself accidentally finds out. Do you have any idea what will happen to her?" "I don't want to shock her yet, and then I'll tell her about you," explain. "She'll understand us. I have to prepare her a little bit, not all at once, gradually. These things don't happen overnight. You must understand me. She and I have been together for so many years, never deceived each other, never hid anything. And here I am, showing up so handsome and presenting you. But you're gonna have to do it at some point. Or are you going to hide the truth from your wife for the rest of your life?" "No, of course not." "Don't push me. It's very difficult. You and I are good for now. I still can't believe I have you myself. What would it be like for your wife to hear about you?" "No, I think we should hold off." "Oh, I get it." Melissa snorted derisively. "You're afraid." "That's right. You're afraid of your wife. Why didn't I realize that before?" "I didn't." The man was offended. "I'm not afraid. In my opinion, in such matters, rushing is only harmful. We must find the right occasion. Is it normal to lead your wife around by the nose? Stop nagging me." Thomas jokingly poked Melissa on the nose. "I wish you'd give me some tea. I don't fully realize my new status myself. Shall we go to the kitchen?" The girl invited him. "I have everything ready. By the way, even cooked lunch." "Wow!" exclaimed the surprised Thomas. "That's a good girl. I didn't expect that. You're all grown up." "I hope I did as well as your wife." Melissa quickly set the table. "And delicious." "Praise the man. You're good. And you really cook as well as my Barbara." Thomas put aside his spoon and looked at the girl carefully. "You are very beautiful. I can't even believe it's mine." Melissa laughed embarrassedly. "Where are we going today?" "I'm so sad without you," she said. At the cemetery, the woman had tried to hold herself together, but now she let the tears flow. "Why? Why? Why did you leave me?" Swallowing tears, Barbara said, holding her husband's portrait in her hands. "How can I live without you? I can't imagine. I am alone, all alone. I have no one else to live for. I want to lie down and die too. How painful it is to realize that I will never hear your voice, see your smile, hug you. Why should I wake up in the morning if you're no longer with me? Thomas, Thomas, my darling, take me with you. I don't want to be without you. How can I be without your lips, your hands, your eyes? I can't imagine that nothing else will ever happen. It seems to me that my soul died with you." The woman lay down on the bed without undressing, wrapped herself in a blanket, and closed her eyes. Tears kept flowing from her eyes. She fell asleep crying. For the first few days, Barbara didn't even leave the house, wandering like a shadow from room to room, rushing like a mad woman to any doorbell, hoping for Thomas' return. How she wanted to hear that the news of his death was an unfortunate mistake. Afraid to erase his phone number, waiting for him to call and say, "Honey, I'm back. I'm home. Why are you killing yourself?" Her friend said, "You won't get your husband back anyway, and you'll drive yourself into the grave before your time. So be it." The woman was stubborn. "I don't want anything. I don't want to see anyone. I can't see anyone, but you'll have to." Margaret insisted. "People are waiting for you. They need you. You can't just not go to work. You're a manager. Who are you hurting? Simple workers who trust you, but they have families to feed and their children don't care about your grief. Stop lying down and go to work tomorrow. What do you want from me?" Barbara was angry. "I'm not here. I'm empty inside. Life is over. Leave me alone. Don't even think about it. You're a living young woman, and you want to give up on yourself." Her friend has been bugging her every day. "I've brought some documents for you to sign. Look, I can't do without you. Come on, get down to business, stop drooling." And Barbara gradually began to return to the old rhythm of work. Only in the evenings, when she was alone at home, she remembered her husband, looked at the photos and cried. "Barbara?" About a week later, she heard in the phone the voice of the investigator who was in charge of her husband's case. "We were able to ID the dead girl. It's a Melissa Carter. Does that name mean anything to you? Did the husband ever mention it to you? Or did you happen to hear the name?" "No," the woman said, confused. "I've never heard of her. Who is she? What does she have to do with my husband? Where did she come from? How did they even meet? Is there anything you can tell me about her? Does she have any family? Where is she from?" Barbara bombarded the investigator with questions. "All we know is that Melissa has a grandmother. The mother passed away a few years ago. No one could give us a clear cause. We assume from some disease. Who's the father? We don't know. Neighbors said the girl was adopted by her stepfather when she was 3. Where is he now? We're in a tizzy, Barbara. We have to tell them the girl died. The grandmother and stepfather must be freaking out. According to our records, the stepfather's not alive either. He passed away before the mother died. Where's her real father?" Ah, the investigators come alive. This is where it gets interesting. This Melissa Carter was trying to find her biological father before she died. What makes you think she was looking for her father? She contacted the police several times asking them to find her father. That's interesting. What is she, like 20 years old? Why is she so late in the game? She started looking for him before, but they were all unsuccessful. Did she find him? Who is he? The investigator's a little confused. Apparently, it appears that your husband, Thomas Brown, is the biological father of this Melissa Carter. So what is it? Barbara found it difficult to breathe. She tried several times to take deep breaths. The girl is not Thomas' lover. What are you saying? She's his daughter. Barbara? The man on the other end of the line suddenly became worried. Are you all right? Yes, Barbara answered. I'm fine. Don't worry. What else did you find out? We haven't been able to get any other information. So Thomas wasn't cheating on me. Barbara thought. At least not lately. Well, that's good. But my daughter, living proof that Thomas had once cheated on me. How long ago did this happen? And who's her mother? Barbara? The investigator's insistent voice brought her out of her troubled thoughts. Can you hear me? Isabella reached into the closet. and pulled out a photo album, opened it and pulled out some pictures. Adriana is my daughter. She jabbed her finger at one of them. With Thomas, they knew each other long before you were married. Barbara exhaled involuntarily with relief. No cheating. She felt instantly calmer. He didn't cheat on me, and I knew Thomas wouldn't do that. But why didn't he tell me he had a daughter with his first lover? Then there would have been no need to hide anything, and maybe they would both still be alive. Isabella held out the pictures to her. Barbara looked with interest at the pretty laughing girl who was hugging Thomas tightly. Both were very young. They hadn't been dating long. The older woman spoke up. Foolish, my Adriana was. She didn't see Thomas. She already had another one in mind, more promising, she thought, more reliable, and I warned her not to rush from one to the other. 2 weeks later, she comes to me and says, I'm pregnant with Thomas' baby. What do we do? I tried to get her to tell me, but she said Thomas can't know about the baby. So she decided to convince her new boyfriend that he got her pregnant. Well, there you go. She was quiet. You can't get away with a lie. That other, a little walk with her, and as soon as he found out that she was pregnant, immediately disappeared and left my Adriana at a broken trough, alone and with a baby in her arms. Barbara did not interrupt the old woman. It was obvious that she was having a hard time remembering. I'll tell you the truth. My Adriana was a fool. I never knew how to understand men, and I missed my happiness. Oh, what a waste. She waved her hand and sighed bitterly. Why hadn't she told Thomas about the baby? He would never have left her alone with a baby. You think she didn't try to find him? I did. I'd have thrown myself at his feet if he'd forgive me. But it was no use. I realized it too late. And it's unlikely he would forgive her betrayal. He was proud. Of course, he wouldn't have left his daughter, but what kind of life awaited them? If Adriana didn't truly love him, she would have clutched at straws like a drowning man. She said Thomas immediately went somewhere, didn't talk to anyone. No one knew where he disappeared to or didn't want to be found. Thomas then went to live in another town, said Barbara. His grandmother was sick, so his parents sent him to take care of her. The woman paused for a moment. Thomas, he wouldn't tell me about your daughter, though he and I never kept secrets from each other. The resentment lived in him, Isabella explained. And why would you want to know? He loved Adriana very much, and he dusted her off. And what did she do? She exchanged love for profit. How can you forgive such a thing? That's what started my daughter's troubles. What troubles? Adriana never married again? She's a very beautiful woman. Men love her. Why not? She did. But they didn't live long. My daughter couldn't find happiness after Thomas. God must have punished her for her adultery. Melissa opened her eyes and immediately squeezed them shut, then carefully opened one eye, then the other, jumped out of bed and laughed. The whole room was decorated with balloons, elegant letters, and in the center was a huge number 3, filled with helium and tied to a weight so that it would not fly away. Happy birthday, daughter. Hearing Melissa's voice, Grandma and Mommy entered the room. Thank you, Mommy. The girl jumped off the bed right into Adriana's arms, hugged her, pressed her cheek against her cheek. Grandma, thank you too. She slipped out of her mother's embrace and immediately found herself in her grandmother's arms. You smell so good. Melissa inhaled the vanilla fragrance that permeated her hands. Oh, Dragonfly. Hurry to the kitchen. Gently hugging her granddaughter, the grandmother said, Mommy and I baked a cake for you. My favorite. Asked the girl and ran in leaps and bounds into the kitchen. In the center of the table was a pie decorated with 3 lit candles. Melissa climbed on a chair and stood waiting. "Happy birthday to you." Grandma pulled the cake closer to the birthday girl. "And now the most important thing, make a wish and blow out all the candles. Try to make them at once, then your wish will definitely come true." Melissa closed her eyes for a second, then opened them, took in more air, and blew out all the candles. "How big you are now!" her mother exclaimed happily. "Remember last year I helped you blow out the candles, and this year you are already doing it yourself. Well done. Grow up to please me and Grandma. You're my little girl." She kissed her daughter gently on the cheek. "I'm already big." The girl, carelessly dangling her feet under the table, watching her grandmother cut the pie. "Delicious." Taking a bite, Melissa said, "If the pie turned out well, it means that all your dreams will come true this year." The grandmother said. While the girl was enjoying the birthday cake, Adriana was talking to her mother. "Are you going to be with Melissa tonight? My friends and I decided to go to a restaurant." "Why would you do that?" Isabella looked at her daughter suspiciously. "I'm tired of sitting at home. I'm young. I want to go out. And what if today I meet my destiny? I want to get married, you know?" "Okay, I understand. I'm young. I'll sit with Melissa. But don't stay too long. You know she won't go to bed without you, right? It's a deal." In the evening, Adriana and her friends went to a restaurant. Young women talked, laughed a lot, drank red wine. After a while, a tall, black-haired, and handsome man approached the cheerful company. "May I invite you to dance?" The stranger extended his hand to Adriana. The woman was embarrassed by the surprise, but accepted the invitation. "My name is William." The man introduced himself. "And I'm Adriana." "What a wonderful name you have, and today it is quite rare." "Adriana, you are a very beautiful woman, but why aren't you married?" "What makes you think I'm not married?" She coquettishly fixed a lock of hair that had gotten out of her hairstyle. "There is no ring on her finger, and we came to the restaurant with friends, not with her husband. Maybe I left him at home and decided to rest. No, I see unmarried people right away, and I'm glad you're not married, because no one can stop me from courting you. Will you let me walk you home?" "You may." Adriana shrugged her shoulders. "No one forbids it." They left the restaurant alone. William hailed a cab. Standing in the driveway, asked Adriana, "Can I invite you out tomorrow night?" "Like where?" The woman smiled. "To a movie, or just to walk around the city. There's a park nearby, and there are benches there. I want to get to know you better. I'm not married either, and I like you. I'd really like to get to know you. You don't know me at all, do you? That'll give you an excuse to get to know me. I have a daughter." After a little silence, Adriana told me. "Today she turned 3 years old." "Well, that's just wonderful." William rejoiced. "I dream of having children, but I have no luck with women. But you and I think everything will work out, and I will adopt my daughter with pleasure." They started dating. "Mom," Isabella told me one day, the daughter, "William asked me to marry him. Isn't it a bit early?" The mother asked incredulously. "You've only been dating for 3 months. If you want to get married, invite him home first. Let's see what kind of bird he is. We don't know how Melissa will feel about him. I'm sure they'll get along. William loves children, promises to adopt Melissa. He's a good hard worker." Adriana insisted, but invited her new acquaintance to visit. "Mommy, this is William." She introduced the man. Isabella liked him immediately. Friendly, respectful, brought with him not only a bouquet of flowers and a box of chocolates, but also 2 bags of different products. "And this is my daughter, Melissa." Adriana took the girl by the hand. "Say hello to Uncle William." "Well, hello, Princess." The guest handed the girl a huge teddy bear. "Here's a present. Shall we get acquainted?" Melissa timidly gave him her palm, and he took it and shook it gently. The girl smiled unboldly. "Since everyone has now met," announced Isabella, "it's time to go to the table. Why do we keep a man on the doorstep?" A month later, Adriana and William were married. William was delayed somewhere. Adriana went from window to window one evening in anxiety. It's never happened before, and he doesn't call. He doesn't pick up the phone. Has something happened? "Calm down," her mother said nonchalantly. "He's a man. He's late with his friends. He already spends all the time at home with you. You should be glad that such a man got. Don't control him. Men don't like that." "I don't control him," Adriana said in despair. "I'm worried that something might have happened. If something had happened, it would have been reported long ago." Isabella said reasonably. The sudden call startled them both. Adriana rushed into the hallway. "William, where are you getting to?" With resentment in her voice, she lashed out at her husband. "William, are you drunk?" Isabella and Melissa also went out into the hallway. William smiled stupidly, looking at his family with cloudy eyes. "What are you staring at?" "Yes, I've had a drink. I have the right. I've never seen you like this before." Adriana marveled. "Why on the side?" "If you had come home, I would have poured you a drink. It's not a crime to hang out with friends, is it? I'm tired of you. Leave me alone. I want to sleep." Adriana helped her husband undress, put him to bed, and went back to her mother. "Nothing," she excused herself. "He's tired at work. It's nothing. He'll get up in the morning and explain everything. You see, Mom, he came. He lay down right away. He doesn't bother anyone. The main thing is that he came home." Isabella only shook her head, but said nothing. William had been drinking since that memorable evening. "Adriana," Mother demanded, "can't you see he needs to be treated? He comes drunk every day, every day." "Oh, my daughter, it's not a bad thing. You're always stirring up the atmosphere, Mom. Look around, all men drink, and nothing happens to them. A man relaxes in the evening, sits with a bottle, but in the morning he goes to work, not lying in bed. Men need rest more than we women do." William felt really good after every night out, but one day he didn't come home. "Adriana," her mother pestered her, "call his friends. My heart knows he's in trouble. I don't want to have to bite my head off. Leave me alone." Her daughter waved her off. "Is it the first time? What's he going to do? Drunk with buddies and sleep somewhere in the garage. He'll come. Don't make a fuss." "Mom," Isabella's anxiety has spread to Melissa. "Let's go look for Uncle William. What if Grandma's right and something really happened to him?" You go. The woman snapped at me. "Look, there's an advocate. Where are you sending her?" The grandmother was indignant. "The girl is 13 years old, and then you'll have to look for her. Should I go?" While the women were going over who to go look for William, Adriana got a phone call. "Hello." Adriana's heart sank when she heard the voice of a stranger. "It's the police calling for you. Your husband's body has been found near the garages, and he's been identified by acquaintances. You need to come to the station to sign some papers." "Adriana, what's wrong?" Isabella was worried, seeing the change in her daughter's face. "Yes, speak up. Don't be silent. William? He's gone. 10 years, that's all it took." Isabella continued her story. "He wasn't a bad man. Yeah, he wasn't bad, but he liked to drink. It was that damn vodka that killed him. And how happy I was for my daughter, how well they were getting on. I thought I'd finally get a smile on my face, but it didn't work out. Melissa, she thought he was her father when she was a little girl when he adopted her. She clung to him, and he treated her very well, spoiled her, bragged to the men about how beautiful his daughter was growing up. When did Melissa find out who her real father was? Barbara asked cautiously. Not long ago. The old woman sighed heavily. 6 months ago, maybe. Her mother had confessed before she died that William was not her father. And when her mother was gone, Melissa had decided by all means to find the real one. She got it into her head that she wanted to see him. I don't know why she'd do that. We had a good life without him. If we'd left things the way they were, maybe she'd still be alive. But she doesn't want to. She has to meet him, and that's it. She spent so much time looking for him. She sent requests every 6 months when she got older. She pestered me with inquiries, and what did I do? After all these years, I couldn't even remember the name Thomas. She got what she wanted, and the result was that she found her own death. The woman waved her hands sadly. You want to know where they were going? To buy a sofa, Jordan. Why did they have to change the old one? It was still quite good. I told them not to spoil it, but who listened to me? Yes, what to talk about? Everything was going the same way. It's their fate. Excuse me. Barbara interrupted her. Who's Jordan? Jordan? He's Melissa's son, my great-grandson. You didn't know anything at all? No. Barbara was shocked to hear that. I only found out about Melissa after the accident. That's why I came here to find out. I guess Thomas was afraid to tell you. Isabella nodded understandingly. Where is the child? The woman looked around for the boy. They took him to the orphanage. Picked up how? The woman was dumbfounded. Why did you give him away? Who's going to look after him? Isabella gave me the money. Who would leave him to me? I'm not old enough to be a guardian, and my health doesn't allow it. Since the funeral, I've been so bad. Every day I'm waiting for death to come for me. I can't cope with myself. How can I take care of a 2-year-old boy? He'll be better off there, fed, clothed. What else do you want? Of course, I was sorry to give him away, but what to do? If something happens to me, he'll end up in an orphanage anyway. I'd rather he went straight there. They'll raise him there, put him on his feet. Wait, what about his father? Doesn't he know Melissa's dead? We have to tell him. His father? I'd rather be in an orphanage than with a father like that. Isabella waved her hand in frustration. Melissa. Isabella was angry. I just got home, and you're already bringing boys to our house. And who, Kevin? Are you crazy? It's good that the neighbor told me, and I was naive. I thought my granddaughter was doing business, and she's having affairs with a guy. That's not what you should be thinking about. You should be studying. Grandma, Melissa said in despair, I love him. You're a fool, shouted her grandmother. You don't know who you're messing with. He's a bandit. So what? The girl challenged her. Isn't he a human being? He loves me, and I love him. We'll get married. You'll see we'll be fine. You, Melissa, are just like your mother. You don't know how to choose men. Dan it, you should have gotten together with him and never let him in our house again, understand? Don't go near him, not even at gunpoint. Remember, I'm not giving you my blessing. Just so you know, it's a good thing we didn't have a baby. At these words, Melissa pulled her head sharply into her shoulders as if expecting a blow. What? Isabella gasped in fright. Don't tell me you're pregnant. Melissa lowered her head even further. God, why should I be punished like this? Does William know? No. Melissa answered quietly. I haven't told him yet, but I'm sure he'll be glad. What were you thinking when you went to bed with him? What kind of father is he? That same night, Melissa met Kevin. Hello, my beautiful. The young man hugged the girl, kissed her. Why are you so sour? Did you have a fight with your grandmother? Spit it out. Don't mind her. Kevin, Melissa spoke hesitantly. Let's get married? What's wrong with you? We're good enough as it is. It's too early to get married. We still have to go out. When we are going to have a baby, then we can think about getting married. So we'll have a baby soon. Melissa said affectionately, looking into his eyes. What baby? Kevin took her by the shoulders and squeezed her painfully. We didn't agree to this, he said angrily and shook the frightened girl. I'm not ready to hang a collar around your neck yet, so go to the hospital. Now only a child is not enough for me. What did you expect? That I'd get married right away? Or maybe it's not my child. Who knows what you women are like? Let go, you're hurting me. How can you say that about me? Rubbing her shoulders, Melissa said, I love you, and the baby is yours. You can be sure of that. No, not me. Sorry, friend. I love freedom. You're gonna have to figure it out on your own. I don't want to hear about any baby. I'm not having an abortion. It's your decision. Just don't make a big deal out of it. I had a good time with you. You had a good time with me. That's it. I don't give my consent to have a baby, you know? Bye. Don't look for me. Forget my number. Kevin spat under his feet, cursed, and walked away, leaving Melissa at a complete loss. Like a beaten dog, she returned home. What? Her grandmother looked at her mockingly. Dump you that ashhole? I warned you. What are you going to do? Give birth, Melissa answered shortly. That's right. Grandmother said suddenly. It's not the baby's fault that he had bad luck with his father. We'll get by somehow. Soon Jordan was born. Grandma loved her great-grandson. What a nice boy you've got, granddaughter. Isabella said sweetly, looking at the baby. When he grows up, he will make girls' heads spin. As long as he doesn't go down a crooked path like his father. We'll love him, Grandma. He won't have time to fool around. When he grows up, we'll enroll in different clubs, start playing sports. That's right, the less free time, the better. It's good that Kevin left you, or I'd have taught him to drink, smoke, introduce him to his friends, and then it's not far to jail. That's the kind of guy you stay away from. The old woman held the boy in her arms and walked around the apartment with him. Her gaze fell on the window. Oh, she nodded toward the street. Remember the fool, he'll show up? Who? Who's there? Melissa looked outside the window and turned pale. I hope he's not coming to see us. Just then the doorbell rang and Melissa looked at her grandmother. The bell rang again, more insistent. Why did you show up? The young woman stood on the threshold, grudgingly looking at her former lover. Hello, darling. Kevin tried to kiss her, but she pulled away. Aren't you glad to see me? No one is waiting for you here. Coldly, Melissa replied, Say what you need to say and go away. I came to see my son. The man said seriously. Who? She laughed. You said you didn't want to know us. What happened to you? Did your paternal feelings suddenly awaken? Go away, Kevin. That's my son with a dash under father. I know, Melissa. In a conciliatory way, Kevin said, I'm sorry for you and your son, but I want to make it up to you. Do you know how happy I was when I found out you didn't get rid of the baby? I have changed. I realized a lot of things. And now I want to help you. I want to participate in the upbringing of my son. I'm sorry, you have to understand. I was just scared. Yeah, scared of the responsibility, I admit it. It's not every day someone comes to you and tells you you're going to be a father. I realized I still love you. I'm just heartbroken. I'm a father. Are you trying to pity me? Isabella glared at Kevin. Get out of here, or I'll call the police. Grandma, Melissa looked at her pleadingly. Let him meet Jordan. He's his father after all. Nothing bad will happen. You silly head. Do you think he's getting wise to himself? He'll play around and then quit again, and then you'll cry. Come on, do as you please. She cursed in her heart and went to her room. Let's go. The young mother beckoned Kevin. Look how small he is. He looks just like you. The child squirmed fearfully at the sight of the stranger. What are you doing, son? Don't be afraid. Melissa soothingly stroked her son's head. It's your daddy. Kevin looked at the boy for a long time, no feelings reflected on his face. The young woman didn't notice anything, delighted by the sudden appearance of her son's father. Isn't he pretty? The happy mother looked up at him. He is. The man nodded. I brought you some money. Buy what you need for the baby. Ho! The young woman blushed. Thank you, of course, but we have everything. Take it. You think I don't know how you live. I don't refuse to help, and I'll come if your grandmother lets me. I'll talk her into it. She's angry with you because she's worried about me and Jordan, but she's easygoing. Come more often. Your son will get used to you. Will you? I will, nodded the new father. It's a strange feeling. I never thought I'd be a father so soon. Okay, he's getting ready to go. I gotta go. I'll see you later. You're not starting all over again, are you? Isabella looked at her granddaughter reproachfully. He left her once, he'll leave her again. He's unreliable. You don't like him. That's why you're angry, but I love him. It's my job to warn you. You mark my words, his attention will get us in trouble. The old woman was right in the head. A few days later, Kevin showed up again. Are you drunk? Melissa greeted him fearfully on the doorstep. I'm not letting you in the house. Go away. Get some sleep first. Who are you to tell me what to do? Barely able to stand on his feet, the man growled. I want to see my son, and you have no right to tell me not to. Do you understand? I'm the father. What kind of father are you? Go away, you'll scare the child. He's a boy, and he shouldn't be afraid of anything. When he heard loud voices in the hallway, he cried, Why is he yelling? Kevin swayed, pushed Melissa aside, and headed for the nursery. Son, I'm coming to you. The boy rolled up crying in fear. Isabella got in the way of the drunken father. Get out of here. I won't. As far as I know, the apartment is in Melissa's name. You won't be here when she and I get married, so get out yourself, you old hag. You bastard. I'll call the police, and you'll never come near our house again. The old woman took the phone. Kevin snatched it out of her hands and threw it aside. There was the sound of breaking glass. Are you out of your mind? Isabella lost her temper. Get out. You think I can't handle you? She pushed him out onto the landing. Where did she get the strength from? And quickly locked the door. Well, breathing heavily, she muttered to a tearful Melissa. Warned her not to dare mess with him again. What had he done there? He, cried the young woman. He broke the glass in the sideboard and the dishes. Grandma, I'm sorry. I really believed he changed. Only the grave can change the humped man. I won't let him on my doorstep again. You'll make the child stutter with a father like that. When will you wise up? A week passed. Melissa shuddered at every call, but Kevin never showed up again. The young woman had almost calmed down after his drunken debauch. In the evening she gave her son a bath, put him to bed, and was already cleaning when the doorbell rang. Melissa, open up. She heard it and went cold. It's me. Please, I'm sorry. Open the door. I want to apologize. Kevin begged, "I promise I won't step over the threshold unless you call me. Listen to me, it's awkward through the door, and the neighbors can hear me. I'm sober as a whistle. I don't know what came over me. Don't open the door. Isabella warned me." "Grandma." Melissa looked at her guiltily. "He came to apologize. Let's give him another chance, shall we? What's there to talk about?" Grandma disappeared into her room. Melissa opened the door ajar. "I'm an asshole," Kevin said penitently, bowing his head. "I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. I got drunk with my friends, and I wanted to see you, my son. You don't know how grateful I am to you for Jordan." "Aha!" The young woman grinned. "So grateful that you smashed the sideboard and broke the dishes. I didn't come empty-handed." Happy that Melissa had not chased him away, the man spoke hurriedly. "Look, I bought a tea set, a table set." He grabbed the boxes that were at his feet and put them in the hallway. "Also for your grandmother's phone, hers probably doesn't work. Keep the money, buy yourself some new furniture. My son should have the best of everything. Don't take anything from him," Isabella said from the ajar bedroom door. "It's bandit money." "For God's sake, Isabella," Kevin said stupidly. "It's not the 90s. I'm making a decent salary. I'm really ashamed of my behavior. Don't refuse to help me, please. I know how hard it is for you, especially now that you have a baby in your arms and Melissa is not working." "Wow," the older woman grinned. Suddenly he spoke in human language. "Mind you, you won't succeed. It is you who can fool Melissa's head, but you won't do it with me. I can see through all your tricks. You have a black soul. You're not sincere. I can't believe a word you say." "Yes, I understand you perfectly well," Kevin replied with his hand on his heart. "And I'm not offended." "Of course you do," Isabella snorted. "You could be offended by those you love, but you love no one but yourself." "What are you doing, grandmother?" Melissa begged. "Don't scold him. You can see he realized everything." "Kevin, come into the kitchen, but try not to make any noise. Jordan is asleep." Melissa. Grandma shook her head sorrowfully. "You didn't understand anything. You believed me again. Next time there will be no one to intercede." "Yes, Grandma," joyfully laughed granddaughter. "I have a daddy now. He won't let us get hurt. I want him to meet Kevin." "Which daddy were you just talking about?" "Kevin was sitting at the table and was already drinking tea. He's dead, isn't he?" "Imagine, I found my real father. William, my stepfather. I still can't believe I found him. Everything's gonna be different now. So he's probably more excited about your reunion than you are. He hasn't asked for money yet?" "No." Melissa smiled. "He is quite well-to-do. He helped us right away. He paid all the expenses for my grandmother's medicine. He is a good man. Does he have other children?" "No, I'm alone." "That's good," Kevin said thoughtfully. "He's coming over tomorrow night, and you can come over and meet him." "We'll see," the man replied evasively. The next day, the whole family, led by Thomas, was having dinner when the doorbell rang. "It's Kevin." Melissa jumped up from the table. "You're just in time. We're having dinner," she said excitedly as she opened the door and suddenly fell silent. Isabella and Thomas looked at each other. "Kevin, you again?" They heard her frightened voice. "Why again?" The guest had a swagger in his voice, barely able to move his tongue. "I took one for courage. It was nothing. But I'm not empty-handed. Look, there is a drink and a snack. Here's the bags. Now your father and I will have a small drink. We should celebrate the introduction to the future father-in-law." Thomas got up and went out into the hallway. Behind him loomed his worried grandmother. "What's going on here?" he asked sternly. "Oh, there's my father. Let's get acquainted. Kevin, isn't it?" He shook his head and grabbed the door, almost falling off his feet. "Get out of here. Get some sleep, then come back. Melissa," he ordered his daughter. "Go with your grandmother to your room. We'll have a man-to-man talk with your acquaintance." "What are you doing here, Daddy? Where the hell did you come from? I've never seen you before. Let's do it this way." Thomas said it nicely. "You go home now, get some sleep, and come back tomorrow, and we'll have a quiet talk, okay?" "No way. Kevin was a good boy. You don't get to boss me around. Who the hell are you? Where's the proof you're the father? What are you, some kind of crook? I'm here legally. I have a son living here and my future wife. Well, having a son is no reason to barge in and assert your rights. I have a right. I give money for my son, so I can come here anytime I want. They'd be dead if it wasn't for me. So get out of here, and don't bother me. I'm here to see my son." Kevin rushed into the nursery. Thomas got in his way. He tried to grab him by the pecs, and a fight ensued. Thomas quickly wrestled the young man to the ground. "Let go," yelled Kevin. "You're hurting me, Daddy." Melissa asked quietly. "Let him go, please. Kevin, go away. I don't want to see you again, ever." "Is that how you talk?" Rubbing his reddened wrist, Kevin said. "It's all right. I won't give up so easily. That daddy of yours, he'll be gone soon. You think he needs you? He's going to disappear out of nowhere, and I'm going to stay. I'll wait until you come to me and beg me to come back. Are you done?" Thomas moved at him threateningly. "Get out. You're not a man. Did you handle defenseless women? You talk to me." "Don't mess with him, Thomas." He heard Isabella's voice behind him. "He's a bandit. He's a sneak attacker." Seeing that everyone had turned against him, Kevin struck the clothes closet with his fist in an impotent rage. The door failed and hung sadly on one hinge. The young man spat on the floor, swung the front door open with his foot, and left, muttering threats to himself. "Chased Kevin away, Thomas," Isabella reported. "He didn't like him very much. I mean, every day was a celebration." Thomas drove him away from the house, but Jordan was left without a father and now without a mother. "So the boy is in an orphanage?" Barbara asked thoughtfully. "Yes, I can see you're judging. Do you think it was easy for me to part with him? My heart is aching. I think about him every night, but what can I do? Who knows how long I have left? You're not going to take him away?" "No. I've resigned myself to it. Where would I go? I can barely walk myself, so let him stay there. I'll visit him. They say you can go every week. When he grows up, I'll take him on weekends, if only God gives me health." She was quiet. Then she sighed heavily. "You go, dear. I'm tired. My heart is aching. I have nothing more to say to you. Can you give me the address of the orphanage where Jordan is and his full name?" "What do you want?" The old woman looked at her in surprise. "I don't know yet." Guiltily, Barbara answered. She thanked Isabella, took the sheet with the address, and went home. "Margaret?" she called her friend. "Come to my place. I have something to tell you." 2 hours later, they were sitting in Barbara's kitchen, drinking tea and talking. "That's the news," spoke the landlady, telling the whole story from beginning to end. "Bitter, of course, but nothing can be changed. Thomas is gone, Melissa is gone, and we could have been a family. What are you going to do about all this?" Margaret looked at her suspiciously. "I'm going to take the boy in." Barbara answered calmly. "You're out of your mind. He's the son of a bandit. and Melissa is no better. A normal girl wouldn't get involved with such a scumbag. What if he grows up to be like that? I don't care. It's not the kid's fault. You can't choose parents and children, and it's not just a child. It's my husband's grandson, a part of him, you know? And you know what happiness, if he grows up, will be like his grandfather. At least some traits, but will be manifested. Don't think I'm crazy, and I'm not looking for a replacement for Thomas. It's just that he's my only family, and I don't have anyone else. He's nobody. Why do you need someone else's problems? Don't you have enough of your own? Not by blood, but by grandfather, yes. You know how much I love Thomas, don't you? I'll love Jordan too. We'll live together, him alone and me alone, and together we're a family. Are you sure you can handle being a mommy and grandmother? He's only 2 years old. It's not like bringing a cat into the house. There is a fear. Barbara agreed. But it's my motivation to keep going. My only chance to be a mother. I'll learn everything. I'll go to a course for young moms. Margaret jumped, covering her mouth with the palm of her hand. Don't laugh, please. Yes, I have only a theoretical idea of what awaits me, but I'm ready to go through all the trials. For someone else's baby? He's not a stranger. He's part of my Thomas. He's the closest thing to family I've ever had. I haven't even seen this baby yet, and I already love him. Think, friend, before you take on such a burden, there's no turning back. Barbara thought for a few days. Then she made up her mind and went to the orphanage. Well, the director of the orphanage said when Barbara told her story, I will meet your needs, but before we hand over the child to you, you will have to pass a medical examination, collect a lot of certificates, and get the grandmother's consent. I'm ready. But most importantly, the baby has to like you. I understand. Worried, answered the woman. The director paused for a moment, looking at her intently, then resolutely stood up and led her to the younger group. And here is our Jordan. She took the boy in her arms and stroked his wavy blonde hair. When the child turned his face to Barbara, her heart stopped for a moment. Thomas was looking at her, his dark blue eyes, like his grandfather's, scrutinizing the stranger with curiosity. Barbara did not dare to smile. Her lips trembled, and an unsolicited tear ran down her cheek. The woman quickly brushed it away without taking her eyes off the baby. Jordan suddenly smiled back and stretched out his arms to Barbara. You're my sweetie. The woman pressed the baby's warm body to her chest, breathed in the smell of childhood, kissed the pink cheek gently. Wow! Director grinned, immediately went to his hands. Even not all the educators with him found a common language, and you immediately attracted. He's really a good person. Children can sense falseness right away. Barbara didn't hear or see anyone but the boy who hugged her tightly around the neck. That was it. The principal took Jordan and handed him to the teacher. Go to the boys and we'll talk. The child disappointedly wrinkled his nose and suddenly roared loudly in a bass voice. Barbara was ready to take him in her arms again, but the principal's stern look stopped her. I see. The woman spoke as they returned to the office. Jordan, melted your heart? Barbara nodded, her hands still shaking with excitement. Please don't give in to your emotions. A child is not a toy, but a great responsibility. If you can't get along with him, what will you do? Give him back to us? No, I'm not going to give him back to us. Barbara was so hot. I've seen such parents who also assured me that they would never part with their child and then begged to take him to an orphanage. You should realize that this is someone else's son. He can be naughty, stubborn. The first time you will adore him, and then he will annoy you. Are you ready to give up free time from meetings with friends? ready to endure sleepless nights and whims? Not every mother can withstand such trials, and you're a stranger to him, and you're not 20 years old. I'm not a stranger, Barbara said quietly. He's the grandson of my dead husband, whom I loved very much. I won't be able to sleep well knowing that Jordan is here, confused and very lonely. You see, when Thomas was gone, for the first few days I didn't want to live. But when I found out about Jordan, I had a second wind. I found the meaning of life. Believe me, I will do everything to make Jordan grow up next to me and be happy. We need each other. I believe you. The director stood up, signaling that the conversation was over. I'm very happy for Jordan. I'll be preparing the adoption papers. When can I pick up the boy? Bring all the authorization documents, the court order for adoption, and go home with him, and in the meantime you can visit him. The director smiled kindly. Call me in 2 days to see what days would be best for you. Barbara walked out of the orphanage building, stopped on the porch, put her face up to the sun with a radiant smile. Margaret. She dialed her friend's number. Do you know a lawyer who could help you gather the documents? Have you decided to adopt after all? Margaret asked judgmentally. If you had seen Jordan, you wouldn't be asking me such stupid questions. In the evening, Barbara sat in a cafe in front of a representative man. He was listening attentively, looking over his glasses and drumming his fingers nervously on a thick leather folder lying on the table next to an empty cup of coffee. I got it. He nodded as the woman gave him the gist of the case. Margaret had warned me what kind of favor I would have to perform. So I've prepared a list of documents. But do you realize what difficulties await you? Your friend is worried about you. It's a very slow process, starting with information gathering, then approvals, signatures. Do you have any idea how much money that's going to cost? I am in my right mind and solid memory. I realize and understand everything. Neither difficulties, nor time, nor financial expenses scare me. The main thing is for the baby to find a home and a loving family. That night, the woman slept peacefully for the first time since the funeral. The secret that had opened after the death of her husband was the beginning of a new life. And in it, Barbara no longer felt lonely because Jordan, the grandson of her beloved Thomas, was by her side.